All right, so we're coming along here. We come to a treatment here that isn't a fertilizer at all. We're going to try to use nature's own system to influence the growth of the plant is the issue that we look at here. This is a product called Heat Shield. It's hard to come by and it's expensive, so don't think I'm recommending it by any stretch of the imagination here, but it's worth us taking a look at these products come along, these biological products come along on this market, and see what potential they might have here in North Carolina. So that's what this is. It's an endomycorrhiza. It's actually got several species of endomycorrhiza. Endomycorrhiza infests the root. The mycelia of the fungus actually grows into the root tissue and provides a direct linkage to the outside, so nutrients actually flowing through fungi will move into the roots there. So that's what the idea here is. We're colonizing these roots by applying this material in furrow. We put 1 gallon to the acre. I don't want to tell you how much that costs. It's a little pricey, so it better do something. But we're trying to use nature here. This is not a fertilizer. Yeah, actually, compared to what we just saw there with 10 gallons in a 2x2 bed, this doesn't look too bad, but it's certainly not the best treatment we've got out here by far. Let's take a look at what it did here as far as root and plant development. There's our check. Here it is. This is the plants that we looked at here. It's doing something, isn't it? Now it's a little hard to see from your camera angle, but one of the things that I've noted here is on the outer of this root, you see a lot of these white roots here, and you see a lot of white roots with most of these treatments here. Not a lot of dirt adhering to the outside of the root. So as we knock it off, it exposes the epidermal tissue of the root. But look at this root, that's dark. And now that it's dried out, it's turning gray. So we got a lot of gray. Those are the mycorrhiza that have infested the root and are holding on to little dirt particles, and that's what's causing that gray, that root tissue there. So very interesting to see this actually play out here in our environment here in North Carolina. Again, surprisingly made some growth difference here. We'll see if that holds true through the season. And then I've compared it to this 20 gallon rate of a 10-27-0. So again, you can see it did not quite do what I'd like to do, which is a little more root mass and a little more growth, but it's having an effect. So this is something we want to keep our eye on. Again, I think it's way too expensive for practical use here in farming yet, but something that we certainly got my attention here, looking at how it's growing here at this CHROME trial. All right, did I say that last treatment was 9? This treatment is 9 here. So indeed, it's the heat that's getting to me here today. You wouldn't think that's that bad on June 4th. I'm supposed to get up in the high 80s here today. So if you're looking at this in late August or September, understand where we're at here. This again is a treatment that does not have anything to do with fertilizer. It's radiate. It's a growth hormone designed to influence the growth of the roots. You guys have used 2,4-D for years. You understand what growth hormones do to the weeds. It causes more shoot growth and actually prohibits root growth, and that causes the death of the weed. In this case, they've actually formulated this so that the growth regulator influences the root and provides more root growth. So it's a different way of using, and there's various ways that we could design chemistry to do that. So they've done that here with this radiate product to try to influence roots here. If you look at this plot, looks very similar to the heat shield we just looked at. Certainly has some more growth here than what we saw with the check. And we can see here, again, that as we go to our board and look at these plants now in direct comparison, there's the check plant. Here now is the radiate plant here. And again, it's a root growth hormone. This is a great illustration of root growth hormones here. Look at the length of the root. That's what you're looking at here. Look at the length of those nodal roots here. That's the influence of a growth hormone. And of course then it influences water nutrient uptake, which in turn affects the size of the plant here. So we can see that having dug up as carefully as we could to preserve these root systems here, you can definitely see here, well, even take a look at the seed piece roots here. They're longer in this mass. Then again, here's this 20 gallons of a 1027-0 in a 2x2 bed. So again, you can see it's not quite as much growth as the fertilizer treatment, but again, has some effect. So we're very interested. We've been trying to look at this growth hormone in conjunction with fertilizer. In some cases, I think it has a place here in how we promote this early growth. Okay, it's taken us to treatment number 10 to find the best plot in this test here. It looks like this is a whole different hybrid compared to what we just looked at with some of these plots here with the radiate and of course the heat shield here. This is fertilizer. It's a 1027-0. Again, has that micro package with it. Now at a 20-gallon rate, so this is of course the highest rate we're using here. And now we've done something different. We've placed it now in this 3x2x2 bed. And wow, this thing is taken off here. So clearly the fertilizer placed properly, so it's not interfering with that early emergence, not interfering with germination, and providing the nutrients directly to this root has a huge impact on the growth of these plants. Yeah, Billy's helping me here because this wind is starting to affect this. There's the check. That you don't really need me to come to the board on this one, do you? Because here's the treatment we're just looking at. Look at that root mass here. Massive. Look how much of that secondary nodes are already producing brace roots here. Tremendous amount of difference. This is, we haven't changed the growth stage. We just changed the growth of this plant. Here's the comparative treatment that I've been using all along. Here's 20 gallons of a 1027-0, and you can see here it's just not in the same ballpark here. All right, here we are at the last treatment here. This is Monty's liquid carbon. So again, this is not nutrient. We did not apply any fertilizer. This is just a humic acid applied in furrow. We've already talked a little bit about the reason for humics. Here we have not put it with a fertilizer material. Looks pretty good here. We've seen these humic and fulvic acids, depending on the nutrients in the soil, how nutrients were applied to the field, sometimes have some impact, sometimes not. So it's sort of difficult to make a call here, but this looks very good in this situation here. You would come over to the board here and compare it to some of our checks. Certainly, here's the body's liquid carbon. The one thing you'll note, again, we don't see as many, there's more roots than the check, but you've already seen the radiate, you saw the heat shield, you saw some of the other fertilizer products used with the humics. You can clearly see that this is not producing as many roots as some of those other treatments there. And that, I think, is one of the fallacies of using the carbons without some fertility support, is it shows some advantage and then that disappears as that dry weather and stuff. These root systems just don't support that early grow out. So indeed, a little disappointing in that respect, but still interesting to see the effect of this Monty's liquid carbon. Again, here's our 2x2 banded fertilizer treatment here in comparison. And again, you notice that more root mass that's developed here. For almost, this is a little shorter, but almost similar growth.